welcome once again to the How Long Speak podcast. It's Rick, as always, joined by Alex and Paula. This week, we're talking instruction books. So let me start with a table of contents for the episode this week. We're going to talk about the game.
Nice.
Smooth, right? So we're going to talk about what we've beaten, retired, and been playing this week. We're then going to get to said topic. And we're going to round the episode out with the brand new format of the game that we all like to call
How long to beat the game?
The game.
And then we'll have some credits, maybe a couple of notes pages. I don't know.
A warranty. It'll be fine.
yeah. Hotline in case you're really stuck and you forgot that game facts is a thing. I'm trying to think of a way to segue that into somebody's completions, and it's not happening. Alex, go ahead.
All right. A lot of Picrossed. I think it's finally out of my system.
You
for
don't
a bit
say
now.
that. I'm shocked.
Yeah,
shocked.
right.
I tell you.
Oh God, I've been so freaking. I've been so busy. It's this because right now I'm basically doing a full-time job on top of my other actual job. So I'm just a little and it's a lot of creative stuff, right? For those who don't know, I'm teaching, and so I'm doing a lot of lesson planning. And then lesson planning for my evening classes, while also lesson planning for the high school that I teach during the day. And I'm just my brain is just shot. And so I need something that's just absolutely goddamn mindless, which is actually the theme of all my completions this week, is complete mindlessness. And so the first one was the Picrossed adventure. And actually it's interesting because this is the one where, it's Picrossed, but you have an overworld that you're walking around. You're solving little puzzles, and all the Picrossed puzzles that you solve, the objects appear in the game as real objects, little, pixelated objects. And it's really, really clever and really enjoyable. I 100%ed it because it still gives you it's quite clear on where you're missing puzzles, and there's little quests that go along and items that you'll find in the world to collect things. And the story itself is cute and kind of silly, but I just thought it's really well done. There's something quite wonderful about seeing the objects appear after you complete the game or the puzzle. Because in Picrossed itself, you make it, you take a look at the picture and you're like, okie dokie, and you just kind of vanish, right? But if you're actually exploring this world and going through it, it's quite fun to see them appear. And on the flip side, one game that I think does this really, 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 really badly is PictoQuest, which is fine. And I actually remember I retired the game a long time ago, but it's trying to say that it's a quest adventure through Picrossed, but all it really is that you're a little guy or girl with a sword, and you're going from stage to stage, basically, right? There's a map, but really it's just little circles that you click on, and then you fight monsters when you play Picrossed, which is actually just kind of annoying because they'll just attack you at times and things. And it's the whole point of Picrossed is that it's a relaxing, fun experience, not a put the timer on it. Oh yeah, it's just sort of stupid, honestly. And yeah, there's no, and the writing is so bad. It's so bad. It has to be translated. I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that this was written in English first. Which, look, it's fine. If you're a small team and you're just trying to translate to a lot of languages, that's fine. But when you're also trying to kind of sell yourself as kind of an adventure game with it, maybe try and polish the writing a little bit more. Just a little bit, because then again, it made it super easy to just miss it. So it's fascinating to me because both of these, and I think it's funny, in the Picrossed adventure one, there's a secret area where you can talk to the developer, and at one point he's you ask a question to him, and he's I love it. The question is so why did you mix an adventure? And he has this thing where he's yeah, I put adventure game mechanics or shit, how did it go? Something where he's why did I put adventure game mechanics into a puzzle game? He's hopefully it makes for a better experience. Hopefully.
I mean, that hopefully is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, the lack of conviction.
Right.
Jesus.
But that's sort of the point where he's making that kind of joke. But I think the thing though is interesting is that it did work, it's one of those things where as I play it, I'm like, this actually really did work. Like, and this is in the Pixel Cross, not the Picto one. PictoQuest one.
Right, I'm getting mixed up. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. In Pixel, it really did work. And so, like, it actually feels
I'm
fun
getting my
when you
wires
talk to it.
Picrossed.
Yeah, I know. Picrossed. There you go. But yeah, like, I actually would say in Pixel Cross Adventure, it really works. Whereas in PictoQuest, it doesn't at all. And listen, PictoQuest is still fine. It's Picross, whatever, you know, the puzzles are fine. And I actually realized I retired it because I got to like the really giant ones. And I think when I first played it, I was really new at Picross. And those weren't as fun for me, but I blasted through them now because I've just played it so much that like at this point, it just feels like second nature to do these puzzles. So anyway, I really recommend the Pixel Cross one. It's along the lines of that other one that I played a while ago. Oh god, Paint by Number, the Murder by Numbers one. It's like to me it feels like in the same vein as that one. The Makeout League one is like a step below, and then PictoQuest is like at the bottom of the barrel, I'd say. But you know, what are you gonna do, right? Anyway, so I played those two, and then my final mindless game was I played Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. This is such a fucking bad game, but I love it. Like it's weird, right? Because I actually I feel objectively like it's a bad game. And I'm going to quantify that in the sense that every fucking zone is the same fucking Pokemon. Oh my god. I ran into like a trillion fucking Machops. All these fucking Bidoofs. Like, it was all the same goddamn Pokemon in, like, every route. It's insane how frequently all these Pokemon repeat. Like, I was losing my goddamn mind. I'm like, why is it these ones again? Why is it always these ones? So I ended up just sticking to, you know, like, I to be fair, I had, like, Pokemon is hard because, like, there are such clearly better Pokemon in it. And especially in this one, it's like really obvious what Pokemon are best to use. And so like I first picked Chimchar because I think he's really cute. And then also realized he's like so OP. It's unbelievable. Like fire and fighting. He just decimates like everything that he walks, that Pokemon fights with. And then I got a Gyarados because I love Gyarados. I got a Gibble because this cute little land shark, and then turns out to be very fucking strong. And then if you played Pokemon Let's Go, this lady just gives you a Mew. And like I was like, okay, thanks. So I just got a Mew like really early in the game. Like in the second
you play Sword and Shield, the guy like right beside her gives you a Jirachi.
Gives you a what?
Fuck.
I played Sword and Shield, but I didn't get anything.
If you play Sword and Shield, they give you a Jirachi. The guy right.
I'm really sorry. I don't know what word you're saying.
Left, I think, of the woman.
I think I'll type. It's Jirachi. I think it's Juliet India Romeo Alpha Charlie Hotel India. That one, right?
Okay. Oh, this little thing. Okay. Shoot, Pokemon. Hold on. I don't know that one. It's funny. I played it, but I didn't get it. Oh, those things. Man, the little like fairy things that they made, like those Pokemon after Mew and Mewtwo, they just never looked as good. Celebi was cool, but then after that, they all just look kind of the same. You know what I mean?
Was there a movie for Jirachi? I remember there was one for Celebi, but I haven't got a clue about Jirachi.
I don't think there was one.
There's one for... Yeah, there's one for every single mythical, I think.
Yeah.
Really?
It's just not very cool. Yeah, there definitely is. You know what I mean? It just... Anyway, that's just me, but I did think Rayquaza was fucking awesome. Most of the mythical Pokemon look cool, but that one's just Anyway, yeah. So and it's so early, right? Like they're very good Pokemon, especially Mew is just like insanely powerful. But this game is like what I needed and what I wanted was like I was playing, and we'll talk about Arceus in a little bit here. And that game is quite good, but maybe people will relate to this. It's so odd that like Pokemon is so simple that sometimes when all I really want is just like a fucking simple, fun, nostalgic type experience. And that's exactly what Brilliant Diamond delivers. Like, it's just honestly like, yeah, I'm just going to go through. I'm just going to fight a bunch of motherfuckers. I'm going to go to gyms. I'm going to go to the Pokemon League. I'm going to win. And that's it. That's what I'm going to do. And if you're like really into Pokemon, there's all this other shit like the Grand Underground and stuff, which personally I don't even want to touch that. Because also, if you touch it too early, you overlevel crazy fast. And then the game becomes just like real dumb for a while. So I was just kind of like, I think I'm good. And then it is funny because I will say this game is weird where it's like not challenging at all until Cynthia. And that's it. Like, it's just like, that is the one challenge in the entire game is that fight at the end. And then obviously probably post-game shit. But like, I don't care about post-game Pokemon. I'm not doing that. So yeah, like it's so funny because you get there and then you're like, all right, and then this is the challenge of the game. And I was like, too bad you couldn't have spread that out a little bit along the actual game itself. But okay, let's just put it right here. And I actually have to say, I hate when games do this, where it's like simple as shit throughout the entire thing, and then the last second of a boss is the only part that's like difficult. And it's like, because what it betrays to me is that the whole game could have had interesting challenge to it. But it's reserved for this one section at the very end. And that just is so... it's so stupid, you know? Like, the Pokemon League itself is challenging. And actually, they're fun battles in the end. Like, I actually, for the first time in the entire game, had to strategize about who I was going to use and what moves I'm going to use first. But, like... would have been nice if I had to do that a little more throughout the game. At least the Pokemon gyms, for Christ's sake. Those gyms are so easy. So anyway. Right? This game is so broken too. It's so broken. Like you trash through the game so easily. Anyway. It's Pokemon brilliant. But you know what? And this is the funny thing though, is that I had a great time. Like, you know, like,
and that's the nostalgia talking there. That's not the quality of the game. It never was the quality of the game.
And it's also I also think it's the loop, because the loop itself is enjoyable. You know, going to little places and like it being fairly streamlined. It is. I will also say the chibi art style, no, it doesn't work for the story that they're trying to tell. Doesn't work at all. Like when you have the Team Galactic trying to be all menacing and he's a little chibi dude. Okay. Now, when you're just walking around and playing, it works great. Like, it looks excellent. The water is gorgeous looking. The game itself, I actually think, looks better than Arceus does, and then, like, than Sword and Shield for sure, in terms of the fidelity, because it's simpler, right? And, like, so... yeah, sure. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, Arceus is, I think, more artistically interesting and you know, special. But in terms of, like, the actual, like, just... what a word, special. Yeah, special. I'll say that. Yeah. Well, no, it is good. I think it's much better than Brilliant Diamond for sure. But anyway, I just it's like, because I got this on sale when I went to pick up Arceus. Actually, it was like someone had returned it or some shit, so I didn't pay full price for Brilliant Diamond because I had no intention of doing that. But I kind of knew, like, part of me was like, I know if I play it, I'll enjoy it, and it really was like a palate cleanser for me. Like, I sped through this game. Like, I beat it in I think 25 hours. I think was like the final thing on there, which is like. That's like the lowest amount of time without doing other shit. Like if you're obsessed with getting all the Pokemon and stuff, yeah, you could spend a lot of time in this game. But I would also ask like why. And so like ultimately, Paula's like, because we don't ask these questions.
I'm a maniac. It doesn't count. I don't count.
You are a maniac. But I also understand why you do it, because again, like I said, this is the perfect game to like. I've watched all of like Euphoria and like Our Flag Means Death while playing this game, because it's that kind of game. Like it's just, you can just tune your fucking head out and play it, which is not really a great selling point, right? Like your game probably shouldn't be something that you don't have to focus on. But
it's a podcast game, to go back to the kind of stuff we talked about before, right? So.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is a podcast game.
Yeah, a podcast TV game. And like I said, if you grew up playing these games, you'll have a good time with it. But I also just think, like, coming back to it, I was like, oh, this is definitely one of their weaker games that they've made, like, in terms of, like, Pokemon games. Not this remake. I think the people who remade it did a great job. I'm more saying, like, Diamond and Pearl in general, I think, now that I look back on it, I'm like, I think these were kind of shit games in the first place.
Like, Platinum did fix a lot of the issues with Diamond and Pearl, but they didn't use that for the remake. So
yeah, and that's
here we are.
So weird, right? Like, and again, I know because they want like sell more, right? But to me, it just seems like. But yeah, because I'm like, do you really even sell that more? I guess people buy the double pack, probably. They must if they're doing it this way. But to me, it's just one of those things that it kind of blows my mind when they do this, because I'm like, if you're gonna make a remake of your older games, just make it of the good one, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's baffling that they didn't bother to do it that way. It makes no sense.
or even, you know what? Like, I don't even give a shit. Like, call it Diamond and Pearl, and restrict the Pokemon in each of them, but just put all the platinum shit in there anyway.
I was going to say that's the thing, because there were some like platinum improvements that straight up didn't make it into the remake, right? Like that's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Right, like
How?
even like
How?
like okay, first of all, the Pokemon you usually get on Platinum that aren't on Diamond and Pearl were put on the Underground.
Yeah.
Plus, the other thing they did, or they didn't do really, is to improve the gym leader battles. Because
They're so bad.
you know how the electric type gym leader doesn't have a lot of electric type Pokemon and actually has an auxiliary, which is a water type Pokemon, but it can learn a Thunderbolt?
He doesn't have like
Well,
any
that was
electric.
fixed in Platinum. And he
Right.
has an Electivire, and it is strong, very strong.
Yeah.
But no.
I know, this is the
So-
thing that like really weirds me. And the Grand Underground to me is actually offensive because you have this. Yeah, and hear me out here, because basically what it betrays to me, because let's remember that in Pokemon Let's Go, which I still think Pokemon Let's Go is one of the best Pokemon games, frankly. And I know people will be like, ugh, but I'm like, no, that is a fun goddamn experience. And it takes the original, and you can see all the Pokemon. They put them in the fucking world. So if they could do that for fucking Let's Go, you're going to tell me in this goddamn remake that I'm going to have fucking random battles every 3 goddamn seconds, and you make an underground with fucking Pokemon in it? Are you serious? Like, I went down there and I was like, oh, so you have little zones where I can see the Pokemon, but you wouldn't be fucking bothered to put them in the actual game, in the overworld? Fuck you. I was like, that's so stupid.
Yeah, that would require effort.
Yeah,
But
like,
clearly the Grand
what
Underground required effort. Like,
yeah,
You
what
know
I've
what,
heard they did for this game, that the reason why it's like so faithful to the original in more ways than it should have been is because they used the code, the original code for the original, and they just did the shiny code of fate and added songs like the Grand Underground and Ramana's Park, which, by the way, I call bullshit on Ramana's Park because it's a place where you can encounter like the legendary Pokemon, and you have to use these special kind of orbs or tarts or something like that that you get in the Grand Underground to buy these little cartridges, and then you use that cartridge to get one of the legendaries. The thing is, you can buy more than you can use.
Oh, wow.
I thought
okay.
maybe you could like retry some legendaries, but no. You can buy more than you can use, and that is bullshit because you might as well get more of the same legendary and trade it to people. But now, if I want the legendaries that I don't have access to, I have to trade the item, not the Pokemon, with my boyfriend. So it's like an extra step.
Yeah. See, it's like, and and I hear them say things like, "Oh, we had to use the original source code." I'm just like, so fucking edit the source code. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just like,
Yeah, I
you're
know you
fucking
can edit
game
the
developers.
source
Like,
code.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, but I guess they farmed it out. And I'm sure this company was just like fucking shaking in their boots because like they're like the first company to basically be given like essentially a mainline Pokemon. So they're probably just like, oh my god, don't fuck this up.
They did anything to defend their like.
Right? Like
By the
I
way,
bet you that's a terrifying thing to be told you're going to be working on. Like, they're like, yeah, you're going to remake Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and they're probably like, we're going to fucking what? Like, oh, God.
yeah, by the way, that I think this is like their first proper full project, because the other thing they did was Pokemon Home, the tool that lets you like transfer Pokemon between the different games.
Yeah, that's wild.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me just check. I think it is their first project because let me see. I don't know. Yeah, because I think Nintendo Life did like a whole thing on who these people are. I don't know. There's not a whole lot that I see. Yeah, they worked on Pokemon Home. They're a support studio is the thing though. So like they're not necessarily like this necessarily it wasn't necessarily their first game. Like they've assisted on Yakuza 0, they did Dragon Quest 11, Nier Automata, like they've been assisting on those things. You know, like how Ubisoft has like all these teams across the world. They're like one of those. They come in and they offer support on big games. So I guess this is probably their kind of like their first game, I guess.
Their first game that they've primarily made.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's not like they're like inexperienced. You know what I mean? Like they've been making like some big damn games out there.
Yeah,
That is true.
of course.
You know, that's why I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe your first one that you're tackling on your own, but even then, you got source code for it. So, is it like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you already had the hardest part of the game was done. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Because like I don't know, I'm not a game developer obviously, but I have a strong feeling that the code of the game itself is probably the hardest part of making a game.
Probably like they could have like given it like iron out. They could have like ironed out the bugs or something like that, but they didn't.
Yeah,
Because there were like very simple things to fix.
yeah. I think they've patched out a lot of the weird, like a lot of that stuff though, haven't they? Because like when I played it, I didn't have any issues, but I don't know. I might not have been prodding in the right corners.
Probably like what I've heard is that if you go through the code is pretty much the same between the Diamond and Pearl and the Diamond and Pearl remix.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild.
I'm just a messenger. Don't shut me.
Oh no!
Don't quote me on that either.
Yeah, don't quote you. Yeah. Anyway, I've been talking about Pokemon for too long already, but yeah, it's one of these weird things where, like I say, the game itself, as you play it, you're like, that's dumb, that's dumb, that's dumb. But the whole time, I'm like, this is fun. You know, like it just is what it is. But anyway, because you beat this, didn't you, Paula? You beat Shining Pearl, was it?
Yeah, I beat Shining Pearl. I'm currently like reading Pokemon for competitive battle. That's all of my experience with the game.
Gotcha.
And, yeah. So yeah.
I got a Blissey. That was cool. That was about it. I was like, as I was playing through, I was like, oh, you can evolve through friendship. I was like, I've never really understood how to do that before. And then I finally did. And I was like, nice. Though, you know what really pisses me off? They took a bunch of the old Pokemon, right? And like Rhydon has an evolution now. And it's pretty fucking dumb looking. Like the Rhyperior or whatever, which is also a stupid name. But like he's got like orange tiles all over his body. Like, bruh. Why mess with perfection?
Rhyperior or the Electivire, that is the evolution for Electabuzz.
And like Magmar's new evolution. And
yeah, that was particularly dumb. I like the Togepi one though.
Toga Kiss or whatever. Or
Toga Kiss, yeah.
Toga flapping wing thing, whatever that is, yeah.
I actually that's your episode
used
right
that
there.
one in my final team.
Crobat was always cool, but wasn't Crobat in like Crystal and stuff? Like, wasn't that Johto?
Yeah, that is Gen 2.
Yeah, and that was a cool one. I thought it was cool looking. But anyway, whatever. There's Pokemon for you. You know, Pokemon is what it is. This huge fucking thing. So why don't one of you kick it off? Fight to the death.
I will jump in because then Paula can at least break things up before we moan about the games that we've retired.
True, yes.
So I have 3 completions this week, all on PC. The first is the fabled Chicken Police. Really, really good, actually. A little bit linear, a lot bit linear, actually, if we're being fair. But a lot of fun. Almost pure narrative. At times very much felt like a kinetic novel. Like, even though it's a point and click adventure game, there's not really a lot of puzzle solving. There's not really a lot of clicking that gives you much beyond sort of flavor text bits. I think would have liked it more as a straight kinetic novel. But I liked it a lot as it is. It knows what it's aiming for. It aims straight for that. Doesn't really try and do too much around it. Gives you a really concise, well-paced, noir, detective, thrilling story. Does it with aplomb. And I really, really like, and I think I alluded to this last episode, I love that they played it straight, except they're all fucking animals. It's the reason that it works, because they're not, there's references to the fact that people are animals, and there's things where like the birds will say "what the cluck," and then there's one time right near the end that their police chief, who is of course a bloodhound, just says "what the fuck, boys," and they both look at him like "what?" But outside of those like minor concessions, generally speaking, it just plays like a noir story, and that's the reason that it really sort of comes through. I think if the pitch noir story with chickens as cops, if that appeals to you in any sense, this game is well worth buying. I think it's a little bit steep at full price. Like it retails around about £20. I paid about half that. For me, I felt like that was about the sweet spot price wise. Just a great game, and honestly, I kind of want both of you to play it because I think it would really work for both of you guys.
I think I might have picked that up on sale. I can't remember. I think I did.
Now's the time to have a look because that's a New Game Plus waiting to be done. I'm not. Let me have a look if it's available on Switch. I know for a fact it's on PS4. I know for a fact it's on PC because that's where I played it. Let's have a look at Chicken Police. Is it on Switch? It's the new segment on the How Long to Beat podcast.
It is on Switch,
Switch?
yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Yes, it absolutely is. And at the moment, although probably not once we finish recording, but if you want to get it now, Paula, while it's on sale until
oh yeah, it is on sale right now.
3 hours time, it's just £12 or your regional equivalent. It's a third off for the next 3 hours. So one or both of you get on that, please, because it's very, very good, and I want to hear your thoughts on it too. Second game I played, only 3 months late, was Cave Story Secret Santa. This is and I think it literally came out this Christmas. It's a little Cave Story themed stealth action game. So you play as that world's sort of incarnation of Santa Claus, delivering presents to all the children's houses because they've been stolen. The way that manifests is you come in through the chimney, you have to get to all the Christmas trees and drop off the presents and get out without being spotted. There are optional cookies to find in each level, generally sort of on the beaten path anyway, although there are a couple where they're a little bit more devious, a little bit more hidden. Plays very differently to Cave Story. It's top down. You have two buttons. One is like a generic action button. One is a sprint button. The sprint is crucial for getting past certain sort of enemies and hazards, and also because there's technically like a timed component to the game, although it doesn't really matter. You can tell it's something that was thrown together. There is no tutorial whatsoever. The only reason I know that there is a sprint and action button is because I tried pressing buttons on the keyboard. Otherwise, I would not have known that there was a sprint and an action. I tell a lie, not on the keyboard. I had a controller plugged in. I dread to think on keyboard how you'd work out what's bound to which because there's no key rebinding. It's fun. It in a similar but lesser way to Chicken Police, it has a very specific aim, nails what it's trying to do, which is like a simple, roughly 1 hour. I did a little bit under Christmassy experience with like Cave Story assets. Nothing particularly wrong with the gameplay. None of the levels really stretch your attacks. It's also worth noting there are fun few Easter egg type things. So one of the levels near the end, there's a pit that you can fall into, and you fall next to what is clearly Isaac from The Binding of Isaac. And he's just sat there looking at you like, what? And then the level restarts. And there's a few other little things like that I don't want to spoil. So there's a lot of nice stuff there. And it's free, so hard to complain at that price. Well worth, maybe not for people who are listening right now, but when you're feeling a bit Christmassy in 6 months' time, maybe come back and revisit that one. Last game, and we've gone from full price PC game to free seasonal PC game to itch PC game. This is a game called Water's Fine. Technically, it's purchasable, but if you happen to have the bundle for Ukraine, as I do, you will have got that game as part of that bundle. Really, really straightforward, little bitsy styled thing. The premise of the game is you have to swim to the bottom of the ocean. It's generally one-hit death. You have to manage picking up treasure to buy upgrades, with finding air bubbles, with avoiding damage and managing your way, traversing through the objects that get in your way towards the bottom. And the conceit of it is, if you die, you don't get any of the money. So you have to decide whether you want to sort of keep pushing, or you want to go back and bank that money and then buy upgrades and go further. Turns into a really, really compelling gameplay loop. Has bosses, has quite a lot of variety for, again, a relatively short little bitsy style pixely action game. Very weird end game as well once you do get past all the bosses and get right to the bottom. I wouldn't necessarily say good, I would say interesting. And again, if you happen to have the bundle, you've already got this. So it's an interesting one in that respect. Was a nice little palate cleanser for me. I played quite a lot of narrative-y stuff recently, and it was fun to really get into the action. So the way it works is you have your direction, but you have to press a button to sort of do the swim. So you sort of get caught in this loop where you're mashing the button to go down, or mashing the ultimate buttons anyway. Because you've got the air, you want to go fast, but you also have to watch out for the obstacles, because initially, at least, one hit death. You can later buy upgrades that bump that up, and then you have a little bit more sway. But particularly in the early game, every foray down, particularly once you've got a little bit of money under your belt, is super tense. So really, really good one. Doubly so if you already own it, which, if you're listening to this, there's a really good chance you do. 3 solid games for me this week, to be fair. Paula,
Nice.
tell us about what lies in the multiverse.
Well,
Because
about
I
the game.
bought this, so I'm hoping it's good news still.
Yeah, I bought
Yeah,
this
it's
too.
still good news. It's still good news, don't worry. I'm
Good.
just trying to find it up. There it is. Okay, so as I already said, what lies in the multiverse is a platformer puzzle game where you have to switch between multiverses to get through the challenge. There are still areas where you are not able to do so because narrative reasons, but at the same way, there are like the puzzles are still like crafted in a way that makes you think about how about your placement in the overall map. I'm trying to say it in a way that is not too spoiler, but you really have to think spatially, like where you are to get to the other side and get everything you need in the process, which made for a very interesting chapter in particular. And it didn't, like, the puzzles didn't get dumbed down by you not having the ability to switch between multiverses, so that it is very, very good because it gives consistency. And oh my god, the final few chapters are crazy. Like, I'm just gonna say they get crazy with how they use the multiverse switch. It is also very story focused. It will hit you in the feels if you're not prepared, and it tells overall a very charming story. And it is also like very character focused, so you get to know more both of the overall story of what is happening in these multiverses and what is happening like with the characters that are behind your ass because you're doing things you're not supposed to do. And overall, it is a fantastic experience. I will wholeheartedly recommend it. And yeah, I cannot say any more before like spiraling down into just throwing flowers to the developers, because this is a very well crafted experience and everyone has to try it.
We'll have to get those dudes on again.
Yeah,
they did well.
You guys have to play it.
Yeah, I will. I promise at one point I'll play it.
Fine, Mum, I'll do it.
I'll get there, I promise. Actually, I'll probably play it pretty soon because it's only like what it says on How Long Beat. It's only like 7 hours, so that's not so bad. I can do that. I could do that for sure. Plus, they did well. They reviewed well, so I mean, good for them. First game coming out the gate there,
Happy
doing
days,
well.
yeah.
That's good shit.
Yeah, it's 8 point something, 8.7. I think it was it in the last time I checked.
Oh, on
sounds
Metacritic,
strong.
on OpenCritic, it's 78. I think it's the reverse what you're saying.
Oh, the reverse.
Yeah, which is listen, on OpenCritic, that's good shit.
It's,
Like, just
yeah, on
saying.
OpenCritic, that is good.
OpenCritic's fucking like,
Open,
yeah,
trying to score high there is a nightmare.
yeah, man, getting into the
We would
like,
know because Fantasy Creative League.
yeah,
Mm.
I was gonna say like Tunic, which is like almost as far as I'm concerned, like practically a masterpiece, is at 85 there. So like 78's really
Whoa.
goddamn good.
Yep.
It's probably higher on Metacritic, honestly, because I feel like Metacritic is usually or it may not even. Is it? Yeah, it's 85 on Metacritic, which that makes sense. I find Metacritic is like a little higher usually. Anyway, good for them. Not that the numbers matter, but good for them.
Yeah, good for them.
And we need to
And
get
we need to get them back in the show to do a spoiler cast later. That'll be interesting. Moving on to a game that I didn't enjoy as much as I was expecting, or maybe I kind of enjoyed it more than last time, but less than usually than other Otome games, pretty much. Is Cube Shackles of Amadeus, and this is a game I would recommend people to try what they think are gonna be like their favorite routes, maybe like 1 or 2 routes, and just call it done, pretty much, because there's this thing where there are 7 routes and not all routes are created equal, and that includes the pacing of each route, or the characters included on each route, because on the first route I did, that was like on the angel side, that like you see like a very decided protagonist that wants to get better at the game to have a fighting chance of surviving in this world and try to be useful to the overall cause of clearing the arc and getting the heck out of there. And on the second route I did, you get to meet like the more colorful part of the cast, because for some reason the developers thought that the demon part of the world was easier to make like characters for, which I agree. Like there's only so many configurations of wings you can give an angel, but there's a lot of things you can do with a demon. So the best supporting characters are in this other side of the game, but only like a couple of routes use them effectively. So I'm like, you have all these characters that one of them honestly would have made a better route like half of the routes of the game, and you don't use them that much. Like we could be missing out on something here. And then you get to like the second half of the routes, and well, the final route is pretty much a brother route, so yeah. And even then, like when you get to the final route of the game, like the big revelation isn't that big of a revelation. Like it has been like hinted at for the whole game pretty much. So you don't really miss out on anything by not completing the game, in my opinion. You can like be happy with whatever route you pick and then go on your merry way, still happy about the game. That's how I feel about this one. Which is a shame, because with all the different points of view the game offered, there could have been a very interesting story on each of the routes. But since they did 7 instead of the usually 4 or 5 routes, I think the standard right now is like 5 routes. They pretty much like the more you play, the more watered down the routes are, because they spread their efforts too thin. So I think like a more focused game with less routes would have been more interesting if they did like a longer routes and more and explore more of the world, because the world they have here is very good. But they didn't utilize it, which is a shame. So yeah, I finished Fear Cube, check us out on Amadeus, play a couple of routes, and that's it. You don't have to finish this one.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. How about those
sorry.
retirements? Alex, that one is it's probably gonna be like one of those. I'll return to this later, but
Yeah, they're all
two
what
honestly.
happened with
retirements
Pokemon
there,
Legends
yeah.
Arceus?
Both of them are, and I basically just started putting them in here because I'm like, I might as well have something to talk about because they just kind of ghost off on me. But yeah, I retired Pokemon Legends Arceus because, ironically enough, I retired it because it's a good game that requires my attention. And I needed something mindless. Like honestly, that was it. Like I was like, oh no, this game's good. It's just like I actually have to kind of focus when I play it, and I, have to actually
It's not
think
you,
a little
it's
bit.
me in video game terms.
Literally, yeah. Like it's
Yeah.
like honestly a good game. It's just at the moment I was like, I can't do this right now. I need like turn brain off game. So I was like, let's
I'm
go play
hearing
Pokemon
this with
Brilliant
like
Diamond.
a heartbreak soundtrack in the back. There's like rain pouring down.
Yeah.
You're both crying.
I was like, I thought you loved me.
I can
I do. I promise I do. Yeah, anyway, so I thought it was just kind of funny. So yeah, I'm just putting it aside for now. I will probably come back to it. Although, the thing is, I say this, but like I also said this with Shin Megami Tensei 5, and now I'm starting to think I might never go back because like the thing is, there's so many damn games out there that like as I finish them, and I'm also starting to realize that like. But then again, I guess I did put PictoQuest down like 2 years ago and then came back and finished later. So you never know when you come back to it. But my thing is that I've got so many games and I want to play them all. But I also realized that I think I'm at a point in my life where I don't need to beat a game to have enjoyed it and got what I wanted out of it. You know what I mean? So like there are a lot of games now where like I get through enough of it and I'm like, that was awesome. Okay, I'm
Say
done.
that Riku is staring daggers to you right now
I was going to
because
say
he
like
retired
that's
Mary
fine,
Tensei
but
5.
finish SMT5.
But see, I got through. Like it's not gonna change. You know what I mean? Like the
You don't know that.
but I kind of do. Like
No,
the
but you
monsters
don't.
will get
You don't know
different.
that.
No, you don't.
But I kind of do know that
No.
because the pattern's been the
No.
same.
No.
Mm-mm.
What do you
It's
mean?
an
No.
SMT game. You cannot
No.
say that.
I've gotten so much further into the game.
No.
It's the same thing. It's
No.
the same. You just go to a new zone and then you fuse more monsters and you fight a big
No.
boss and then they go, God hates thee, and you fight him. I'm like, I don't know what I want to say. Anyway,
I want you to say yes, Ricardo. You've convinced me. I will go back and finish SMT5.
Okay, maybe someday we'll see.
I'll
You
take
can
that
do
for
a
now.
spoiler
Maybe
cast on
when
this
you
one.
guys are like actually playing through it, then I'll probably go back and play it.
Ah,
So now it's
shots
on you. Yeah,
Now
there
it's
you
on
go.
me.
Right? Yeah, I'm the furthest in the game. So all right. But anyway, I also retired Cyberpunk 2077 because I don't know what it is. Whenever I try to play this game, I just bounce off. I'm waiting for the moment to strike when I'm in the right mood for it. I think it's also because I had to restart it, and like those opening. It's a little Skyrim-y in some ways where like the opening moments are like you're just kind of like, fuck man, I gotta play all this opening bullshit again. You know what I mean? Which like, and like, don't get me wrong, when you play that opening for the first time, it's great. But then you play it again, you're like, okay, well, let's get to the part where I get to choose what to do. So anyway, I'm just kind of, I'm done for a little bit because there's a new game that's sort of taken my life over a little, or is going to take my life over a little bit. So anyway, good night, Cyberpunk. I will come back to you eventually. And the thing with Cyberpunk is, the longer you wait, the better that game gets. So you might as well just wait longer.
you could say it ages like wine.
Honestly, though, because they keep updating the damn thing. So I'm just like, I might as well just wait longer, and then eventually this game's gonna be fucking perfect. So anyway, Rick, why don't you tell? Actually, I want to hear what your thoughts on that second one there, because that's one that I was not. That's the game that taught me that I can just drop games when I don't like them. So,
Which,
Creature,
side note, the
yeah.
game that did that for me was Army of Two, the 40th day for the PlayStation Portable.
Yeah.
But enough
Nice.
deep lore. We'll start with that game. So the second of my two retirements is Creature in the Well, which for me was an Epic Game Store freebie. I actually like a lot about this game. And it's really frustrating that I felt I got to a point where I literally just couldn't play anymore. So it's kind of a roguelike isometric thing, but the combat is very pinball. And what I mean by that is you don't actually directly hit things to do damage. What you do is you smack orbs of light around the world, and they bounce back, and you hit them again. They bounce back, and you hit them again. You can kind of charge them up a little bit. So it's almost like you are a walking pinball paddle. The story, to the extent that I saw it, was really, really cool. So you wake up as a bot C in this kind of tower thing. It was built by an ancient, now seemingly deceased race to protect people from this big fuck-off storm that came. Unfortunately, they picked this spot and started building before they realized that the titular creature was living in that well. And that creature keeps coming and trying to impede your progress, and you're slowly sort of picking up pieces of this story as you try and get this gargantuan system back online. And mechanically, there's a lot to like as well. I like what they did with the map. The way it plays around with upgrades is kind of cool. The actual concept on paper, I love, and in practice, actually sort of works a lot of the time. Yeah. My problems all kind of stem from one singular omission, which is that you can't hit the ball without fucking moving your character.
Yeah, it's annoying.
There is no way to be stationary, because picking the direction that you hit and picking the direction you move, it's all on the left stick. I refuse to accept that there was a good reason for them not to have like a lock position button, like you have in some like 2D side scrollers where they want you to be able to shoot in all the directions. So you press the button, your fella plants their feet down, and then you can aim wherever the fuck you want. Far too many times I found myself in a situation where I either missed a shot because I was trying to move my character somewhere and try and hit something in two different places, or I ran myself into damage or off the edge of something, or because I was trying to aim a shot. And there's a lot of challenge rooms, so it compounds that problem further, because it asks a lot in terms of skill-based input from you, precision that the combat, or precision that the inputs rather, just doesn't afford you. There are 4 button actions. I refuse to accept that they couldn't have added a 5th button somewhere to give you a lock position. If it had that feature, I reckon I would have finished it. As is, like, there were challenge rooms that I wanted to do but couldn't, not because I personally lacked this skill, or at least I don't think so, but because the game wouldn't work with me to do that. The game was actively fighting me every step of the way. Deeply, deeply frustrating and saddening, because otherwise I liked the game a lot. Like, it was easily an 8, 8.5, 9 out of 10 for me. If the inputs were suitable for the game that they'd designed. And they just weren't. I mean, does that tally with what your experience was, Alex?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, like, what you're saying is essentially, like, right where I was with this. Because, like, it is honestly such a frustrating game, because, like you say, it is good. There's a lot of good ideas within it. It's just that, yeah, like, what I found happened to me is that it felt finicky at times, right?
Yes.
Like, there was, and it was so annoying, because, like, I actually felt like I was getting quite skilled at the game, but that it was honestly like, man, if you just let me do that, like you're saying, that plant for just a second, let me do that, I could really hit these things properly. But because it lacked that, I found that I would miss things sometimes that I was like, oh my God. And not even that I'd miss it. It was just like, oh, fuck, I got just the wrong angle for 1 second there. And I'm like, fucking kill me. And so, and I beat that game. Like, I got through, like, I did a lot of those challenge rooms and stuff. And, like, I really went through to the very end of it. And it's like, because I think I just was, like, pissed off at the game. I was like, I'm gonna fucking beat you. You know? And I was like, just you watch, game, I'll win. And I won. But yeah, I know, it's a shame, because it really is a unique, interesting concept. I just kind of wish that the execution was a little bit better. And it kind of weirds me. Like, the thing that was odd about the game, I was like, did no one stop for a second and, like, play test this and, like, see that, like, this is not fun here at this point?
Yeah.
Like, where was the breakdown? You know what I mean? Or were they thinking, like, oh, it has to be, maybe they got so good at the game? Because I feel like this happens a lot with developers. They get so good at their own game that they're like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. And you're like, well, you're used to it.
That's the point of playtesting, right? Like, that's the point.
Exactly.
And I think with stuff like that, you give options. Like, if you want it to be enabled, maybe put a toggle in the settings menu. It's really not. It's not something that has to be an issue. I think they either didn't play test or they play tested and that feedback was definitely given and then not implemented. I don't think there's a scenario where this is play tested and the play testers don't flag that. I can't possibly envision that. And yeah, it's frustrating because otherwise, lots to like there. Worth saying, as an EGS freebie, makes it much more straightforward to say, nah, fun, done with you. Because your input cost is 0. Like the 2 seconds it took to go and redeem it on the storefront that week. But yeah, that sucked. The other one, and I'm not sure how I feel about this one, is Azure Striker Gunvolt 2 for the 3DS. Now, those of you who were here a couple of months ago when I played and beat the first Gunvolt will remember me saying that it was kind of okay, but a lot of niggling problems with it, primarily sort of from the way that the level design interfaces with the controls in a very different way, because I feel like the level design in Creature in the Well was actually quite good. They do a lot of cool stuff with that, and other than the odd niggle, the majority of it works and is nice and doesn't cause any problems from that end. With Gunvolt, it felt like there were a lot of sort of leaps of faith, a lot of things where things were either way too straightforward or just not really done with any care or attention. I still kind of feel that with Gunvolt 2. And I feel all the same problems that I was feeling with Gunvolt 1 for me personally. You can tell it's very high score focused. Doesn't really appeal to me. The story's kind of pish, but lots of energy is pushed into it. Doesn't really appeal to me. The mechanics are interesting, but they're not really used in interesting ways. I think this concept would work much better in a 3D action game. The conceit of the Gunvolt series is your character cannot directly hurt enemies. What they can do is tag them and then use like a refilling over time energy bar to send electricity into those tags, almost like you're a taser. And when you're not doing the charge, you can actually dodge gunfire, and it just chews up a portion of your energy each time that happens. You're never really facing more than a couple of enemies at any one time on this 2D side-scrolling plane, which is actually kind of zoomed in. There's not a lot of viewport either side of you to see. So actually, it's very rare that you get to play around all that much with, the outer reaches of what that kind of mechanic could afford you. The other wrinkle is, or at least it wasn't the first, I didn't get far enough in the second to see, because using that charge also gives you a glide. There were a lot of leaps of faith where the other side of that glide was actually outside of your vision. And again, that's the kind of thing where if you've explored those levels and you're looking to like hit a really good time for a high score, you know that exists, and you know to just go full pelt and glide over it and see where you land. As someone who's just playing the game, feels really fucking cheap. And they definitely do more to expand this sequel. There's a whole other character with a slightly different skill set. There's definitely like a slightly higher budget in terms of more CVs popping up like almost immediately. Felt like there was a bit more of a voice cast. Ultimately, like, it didn't take me long to realize this is more of the game that I didn't really like that much to start with. The game itself might be good for the right kind of person, I think, particularly if you're someone who high score chases, but it just didn't speak to me, and I was like, well, I could spend another 4 or 5 hours not enjoying playing this, or I could just not. And that's where I fell. I decided just to pack it in. Might still be a great game for you if you're listening at home, but for me, no thank you. Also worth saying as well, actually, that's the 3DS version, which is the original. I know 1 and 2 got a port for modern consoles. It may well be that gives you a wider screen, depending on how they've done that. So that might change things for people. I'm certainly not bothered enough to go and find out, but if you are, then by all means check that out. But in terms of the game as I found it on the console I played it didn't really work for me. So unless you guys want to tag in on that, no pun intended, that's it for Retired. and I think it might make sense for both of you because you're both playing it to kick off and talk about TUNIC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This game's dope.
So, yep. This game is amazing. Like I've been playing, I play for around an hour, and my boyfriend is also playing because the game is on Game Pass. So we've been playing, and the game has a lot of like secrets hidden on the world, of the overworld.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's pretty much like open world in the sense that you could perfectly go running into I guess where the stronger enemies are with just a stick, or you could go and get the actual sword. So, which pretty much happened with my boyfriend and I. I went straight to the sword. I don't know how I got to the sword first, but I got it, and that makes your life a lot easier. But if you're like a good player, you can use a stick and just play like that. And the thing is, since we're playing at the same time on a call, it is extremely fun to see what which of us encounters. And we have to try to describe to the other one, hey, I found this really cool thing. Oh, where is that? I haven't seen that. And it creates this conversation about the game, which is just plain fun, which is kind of like what is happening right now with Elden Ring, where a lot of people just are sharing their findings with each other, and that creates a sense of community. So yeah, TUNIC is a pretty dope game. It has a lot of exploration, which I love. It has gigantic spiders, which I hate, kill them with fire. And
yeah, I mean,
and the combat is solid, I think.
Oh, the combat's great. Yeah, like it's kind of, I know they think the thing with Dark Souls, like you compare it all the time, but it's because it has like the roll and everything. And anyway, it's kind of
It
is
has
in
the
that world
bonfires.
though. Yeah, and it's got like kind of bonfire type things, and it's also a fair bit like Death's Door. The combat is difficult. I'm on like there's this boss that I stopped at because it's like a very difficult boss, and I will go and beat it. But you're like, oh shit, like it's definitely one of those games where you're gonna have to fight the boss a lot, and then you're going to really learn the boss's patterns, and then when you beat it, you're like, yes, because I've beaten a fair number. I'm actually like pretty far into the game. I think I might be almost like close to like the halfway point actually at this point, because I played just a few sessions and really got pretty far into it and was like having a good time with it. It's actually the reason I suggested the instructions booklet topic this week, because the game does this really cool thing.
I've read about it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so fucking cool because it has its own language that I believe is a consistent language within it. But what it does is that you, as you're playing through the game, you essentially find these pieces of an instruction booklet. And few of the words will be in English, but it like teaches you things that you could have done from the start. And that's what's really neat about this game, is that like you're actually pretty equipped with what you need quite early on. Now, there are some items that you're going to unlock as you go along that are going to help more too, but the world is like, it's so ingeniously created because, oh yeah.
Before you run away to the next idea about the instruction booklet, it looks exactly how this earlier Zelda instruction booklets look. Like the way they draw the little folks doing the actions, that is pulled straight out of Zelda 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like very much inspired by the old NES booklets and like art booklets. And they're beautifully drawn and made. And like they even have maps, and like what's neat in the instruction book is like your character's icon will appear on the map on the different ones that you find. So like it's just really ingeniously done. And it kind of breaks the fourth wall purposely, because like it actually, when you open the instruction booklet, it makes it look like it's a CRT television is pulled out, and so that you're holding it. And so when you go back in, it's like the screen comes back over and you're like watching it normally. And yeah, it's very well done. And I think something that I find really cool about it too is that the world itself, like when you find secrets, they're so ingeniously hidden that when you do find them, it's like sometimes you'll come at a level from a different angle all of a sudden because it's isometric, so it can really hide things nicely. And suddenly you'll be like, oh, you find this secret hidden path that actually you could have just gone in when you started the game and unlocked like a really special thing and got a really powerful weapon. But you just didn't think to check there. And the game is not afraid to let you go do that if you wanted to at the start. And that's what I think I really love about this game, is that it's somehow really naturally points you in the right direction, right? Like it's like, here's where you need to go. You do this, do that, do this. And yet it also doesn't really tell you what to go do. And like, it's incredible. I don't know. It's just like really, really well done. I like at times I was like, I don't know why I knew that I should go here. But then it's like, eventually when I figured out, afterwards, it was like, now I got to a point where I kind of explored everything that I thought. So it's like, okay, well, I should open my instruction booklet map. And I was like, oh, what's that thing? I've never looked at that thing. And so like you go and like, it's good shit, man. It's good shit.
Yeah, it is.
And
And
hard as
again,
balls.
like, it is. Though I really love how you could really just go to where the more powerful enemies are like right away and doesn't like tell you not to. Though you
Mhm.
you will probably die, but you can beat them with a stick or a sword. Using
Mhm.
a bomb or a dynamite bar would be better probably, but you can do what you want.
Yeah. 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 It's just good shit. It's just good shit, honestly. Like that's all I can really say about it. It's just like very well done.
Yeah.
Should I keep going, or what do you want to keep going, Paul? I don't know.
How about I keep going because
You do it.
you were on retirement.
Yeah, why don't you go at town, Paula?
So yeah, my hand slipped, and I've been playing on Fire. I've been playing Fire Emblem Awakening for like the 6th or 7th time, I think. I don't know. I don't keep count of those things. But anyway, I've started playing Fire Emblem Awakening again because I really wanted like something familiar to play, and for some reason I was craving Fire Emblem Awakening. So here I am. I'm currently on chapter 21st. Yeah, on the 21st chapter of Fire Emblem Awakening out of 26, I think. So safe to say, I pretty much devoured the game, and I don't know, like the game has. Maybe it's because it's like the first Fire Emblem game I played, but there's like this sense of familiarity that is like, I don't know, visiting an old friend. It's like I know this game, and I'm still finding new stuff because first of all, I'm changing how I play Fire Emblem in the first place. So, for example, I actually use the dancer, which happens to be probably the most important unit in your army if you use it effectively. And also, like the makeup of my current team or like my current like the makeup of my party is very different from the first, second, and third time I played because I'm using mages more, or I'm more like trying to have variety so I can like tackle any situation. And I don't know, like I just got to this level, hit a wall, and I'm like, oh damn it, I'm probably have to I realized my units were too squishy for the task because well, mages are kind of squishy. So I had to train up my 2 cavaliers and promote them to paladins so they would withstand these stupid fucking mages who can just fire at you from a great distance that I hate with passion. And I don't know, I just want them dead. um I also have like one paralogue left to do from the ones that I've unlocked so far because in this game you can kind of miss a lot of side content. Alex knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And I'm actually doing a NAS paralogue. Does that name ring a bell?
No, actually, it's been a long time. I don't remember the characters' names anymore because I played this game in like more than 6 years ago, I think. It's been a long time.
Oh, I see. Never mind then. That paralog in particular is stupid difficult because the walls kind of like collapse and reform how like randomly.
Hmm.
So if you bring weak units, well, prepare to die because they're gonna die. If the wall like opens just right behind you and they get attacked in the next turn,
Hmm.
which is not fun. So I'm like, well, I can live without that character, even though it's probably like one of the more broken characters. But I'm not gonna do that here. We don't do that here. So yeah, I'm still enjoying the game a lot. Like I feel in a way that Echoes is more balanced, and also that maybe because it takes into account that you will be using like all of your units at all times during your adventure, so they kind of can plan like the encounters in a way that makes sense for the units you have available at that time. Well, in this game you have uh many units that you're not gonna use for a bunch of chapters, and they're gonna be like under level. So when you actually have to maybe adjust your army a little bit, it's gonna take like a lot more time because you have to level them up because they weren't like in, I don't know, the prior 5 to 10 battles.
Hmm.
And since you have a wider variety of units, like where you can pick and choose, there's like this thing where the developers have to account for like this battle has to be able to be won with any combination of units, but at the same time some combination of units are gonna make it easier than others. So in that sense, the way the difficulty escalates is a lot more steep, especially like in the later chapters, in my opinion. So yeah, that's Fire Emblem Awakening. I'm probably gonna have this beaten by next week because I think this is like the single chapter that I usually struggle with on my playthroughs.
Hmm.
And and one side note, the support conversations, I really love them because
They're very good.
they're very good, and I've been finding like more support conversations than that I didn't even find before. So there's my breath of fresh air in my playthrough. Beautiful. Other game that I've been playing is Variable Barricade, and again, an Atoma game. I jumped back into it after finishing Period Cube, and I don't have much more to say like at the moment because I only advanced like 1/2 chapters in the board that is like a bigger chapter. I don't know how to explain it. This game is like organized in a very weird way. But it seems that it also makes replays to get like all the endings easier, so I'm still on the fence about that. But the scenes are hilarious, and I'm finally like seeing like Hibari, that is the protagonist, like start like to drop the mask a little bit. So, and also there's like a couple of chapters that are more like, I guess, focused on letting you know what kind of past she had, which is interesting because we don't have that like a lot of the time. Like, for example, in Cafe Enchanté, you have Kotone, and you know Kotone mostly because of the present. But Hibari had like this chapter where, well, it's no secret that she's living with her grandfather in this big state mansion, whatever, because of her parents died when she was like very young. But you get to see how that affected her, and then it makes more sense how she is the way she is during like the main story, and how and why she thinks the way she does about the suitors that, well, they are trying to get married into her family, and she's like, no, they want the money and the power and all that jazz. I'm very surprised of how even though this is primarily like more of a comedy, it manages to have like more serious moments like sprinkled along the plot, which which I guess it has to have, otherwise it would be like a shallow game. Anyways, the final game that I've been playing, and this is another new one, is The Cruel King and the Great Hero. And I love this game. It is an RPG, kind of like a side-scroller RPG that was created by the same people that work on The Liar Princess and the Blind Prince. So it has the same storybook aesthetic. And the game like takes that aesthetic and applies it to pretty much everything, from the story itself to the characters to how the world is built and like how the different areas are drawn. And it has a lot of charm because of that. Like the story goes as this: you play as you, which is a little girl who pretty
Sorry,
much
that's
was.
you play as
I
you.
am sorry, like
That's just funny. Took me off guard for a second.
yeah, I'm sorry, like it, damn it, the same happened when I played Persona 4 Golden, and it was like, oh, you play as Narukami Yu, but at the very least, like you have the surname to go by. But anyway, so Yu is a little girl who was raised by this dragon lord, which is like the demon king lord, but he like his reign kind of ended in a way because of this hero who rose among the humans and battled the dragon, and instead of killing him, he just like got the horn that was like the source of his power and ended up befriending him. And then when the hero was on his deathbed, pretty much, he wronged his little baby girl, Yu, and asked the dragon to rise here for him in his stead. And the dragon is an overprotective father because he has to see that the little girl who wants to be a hero like her father gets there like safely. Like he has to, in a way, like try to let her live her dream, while at the same time he's such a warrior that he pretty much follows her, like, and you can see the dragon like among like the shadows, like between the trees or the rocks and stuff like that, like just trying to see that everything goes okay. And how this plays out is that, for example, you has a limited set of abilities at the start of the game, but one of the attacks she knows is I think it was like Fire Blade or Flame Blade or something like that. And the charming thing, the very cute thing is that you're told at the start of the game that you cannot use the ability by herself, but please don't tell her because she doesn't know.
You sent us a screenshot of that bit, yeah.
Yeah, I had to send it. I have to send you guys the screenshot of it, because what happens is that she raises her sword and the dragon like just lights the sword in flames, and then she's able to attack with the sword. And it's like that, I don't know, that just warms my heart. No pun intended. Oh my god, that was mad. And for example, when she finds an obstacle, like the same thing happens. Like just as she's about to strike the obstacle with her sword, the dragon just times his fire blast like nicely, so he blasts the obstacle as she lands the strike, which is adorable. And still, it's not just like, oh, we need her to use this ability and we have to make sense of it. So that's why the dragon follows her, the dragon has a fucking reason to follow her most of the time. At the start, it was just like, I'm kind of worried that she will make it okay. And then it's like, huh, you know, this what happening right now is kind of sus. And I smell that this is a trap, so I'm gonna follow her just in case, because I have to make sure that everything's like in order where she's going anyway. So I'm really like I'm about like 4 hours in right now, and the battles are like well thought out because you have the option to attack, you have the option to use an ability or a skill, I think they're called. And to use skills, you need to use not mana per se, but skill points. And the way you can save up skill points to use the ability because you recover 1 skill point every turn. But for example, if you guard that turn, not only you resist better the hits you're dealt, but you also recover an extra skill point. So you have to kind of like manage the economy of your skill points in a good way. Otherwise, especially like in the boss battles, you're gonna get wrecked if you don't know when to guard or know when to use the skill, or pretty much like try to see like when is the best time to do anything, pretty much, even use an item. And about items, you can get an item like after the battle because the monsters kind of held items just like in Shin Tensei, and they drop them when you kill them. And so you never kind of like you still need to buy things from time to time, especially equipment. But if you want to save up for set equipment, which is usually like very expensive, you can still like have free healing items given to you by the monsters you defeat. And I like how they frame the fact that you kind of live amongst demons, but you also battle demons. And the reason is because there are demons that are like pro Demon King and demons that are like anti Demon King in a way. Because some of them are like, once the Demon King kind of like fell in battle, he decided to start helping humans once he befriended the hero. But some demons are not okay with helping humans. So when they see you like just running around the wild, or just any demon for that matter, they attack them. So there's like this group of demons that are like not okay with how society is, pretty much, and they just attack you, and sometimes to steal your stuff, sometimes to outright kill you, which is kind of weird now that I think about it. But anyway, and what else? I don't know. Like, I think that's everything I can say right now, given the 4 hours that I played. There's still a lot. I'm really interested on how this game is gonna turn out, where the story is gonna go, because right now is still learning to be a hero and doing what heroes do, like helping people or battling monsters and stuff like that, or just going on adventures.
Nice.
And so yeah, that's the Cruel King and the Great Hero. Alex, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna blast through this a little bit here. So I'm not really playing Majora's Mask all that much lately, just because, like I said, I've been busy. So it's still on there though, and like I intend to finish it. I started playing BOXBOY and BOXGIRL. That's really fun. I like it. Yeah, it's good times.
Yes.
I'll probably end up beating it. I'm definitely not being very like, I'm not trying to get like everything in each of them or like maximizing it. I'm just kind of, beating the puzzles. Just because I find the puzzles fun, and also realistically, I'm just like, how I am sometimes with puzzle games. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I want to like maximize and get every single possible thing. In this one, I think I need to play it more to get my brain in that right space. You know what I mean? Like, It's like how I started with Picrossed. It's like I first start and you're okay with it, and so I'm like, I think I'm just trying to get through all the worlds and then like I'll probably go and play other ones after, because it is really fun and it's clever, and I like that they like give you different amounts of boxes on each one. Like it's nice that it's kind of like, okay, so only have this many on this one. I'm in like I think I just beat like the sand one right now, like where you're like going through the little, you know how like they have like things of sand and you can push the blocks through it, and go, like that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So good times. I like it. I'm also playing Triangle Strategy because again, someone like had it used for pretty cheap, and this is some good shit. So beautiful. It's that 2D, the HD 2D, you know, like the Octopath. Shit looks good. Stupid fucking name. But I'm sure that the reality is they released Project Triangle Strategy. I'm sure the marketing team was like, bro, everyone knows it as Project Triangle Strategy. You might as well just keep the name, you know? I'm sure it had like a marketing decision. They're like, you change the name now, you're just losing that goodwill. So honestly, I get it. And it doesn't really matter. Like it is super like dialogue heavy. Like it really is. There's actually a lot of story in between the battles, which I don't mind because I actually think the story is quite compelling. You know, it's all about political intrigue. There's like these 3 kingdoms. It's very kind of like
very almost Tactics Ogre in the sense that it does that and it has a similar gameplay.
Yeah, I would say yes, absolutely. And it's got like a compelling story with like actual decisions that matter. And like what I think is interesting too is that like you have I forget the exact word that they use. Is it maybe convictions or something? I don't know. Like your principles essentially get changed based on the things that you pick, because there's like utility, justfulness or something. Like there's like 3 things that like this character has as kind of his like his principles. Yeah, right, like a triangle kind of thing. And then so like you can, based on how you respond to things, your kind of principles will mold and change, and the team members that you have will respond to that differently. So some people prefer if you're more just, others might prefer more utility. Like, you know, there's this kind of way that they'll respond to you, and some people will join you based on your principles and others might not, because they're like, well, I don't really vibe with you as a leader. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. And so anyway, really cool right now. Paula, this is definitely a game you'll dig. It's super Fire Emblem, you know? But obviously it's more Final Fantasy Tactics than Fire Emblem, I suppose, because like all the battles take place, like it's not like you go into like and here they fight thing. It just like happens right on the screen. But tactically it's very fun so far, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna dig this. There's no permadeath or anything, which I'm actually a big fan of, because ultimately the permadeath is a cool idea, but like I said, it very rarely actually ends up becoming a thing that people play with. So not having it just kind of makes me focus more on the story and the tactics itself than like being terrified that one move is going to like decimate everything. You know what I mean? Like it makes me feel like I can take a few more risks and like try new things a little more. But you know, ultimately that just depends on what you prefer, right? If you're a big fan of that kind of permadeath thing, then you've got a billion Fire Emblems you can play. So, you know, it's all good. I also started playing Elden Ring. I'm on a March break right now, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking go for it. God damn, this game's good. And like, I've played Bloodborne before, and I've played Dark Souls. So I'm not like completely new to this, so I knew what I was getting into. But yeah, like it's not like it's a different game. Like it's still Dark Souls. And like I came up against like the first kind of cutscene boss, and I'm like, oh shit, I got fucked. But something that I really like in Elden Ring that I don't know, maybe some of the later Dark Souls did this, but I don't remember this happening. What they do in this one is that, so you know, like your flasks are usually replenished when you go to a bonfire, which in this case it's a grace area, like they have a thing called grace. But because it's open world, if you clear out an area with like a grouping of enemies, after you clear out that entire area, you're like a number of your flasks will replenish. And it's like a really smart, interesting way of doing this, because it does kind of encourage exploring and taking on things, because you're like, okay, maybe I'm a little low on flasks, but I know if I go clear out that encampment, I'll get my flasks back without actually having to rest somewhere. So like if you're playing and you don't really want to reboot all the enemies, it's like, oh, this is a nice way to kind of go and do that. So yeah, I really dig it. I'm playing as a oh no, what's it? The Confessor class, because it's kind of a mix of. I've got a shield that does like 100% damage block and a broadsword, and then also has some faith and like magic abilities. It has a healing spell as well, which is like pretty fucking useful.
Yeah, I was thinking that sounds like a faith class.
Yeah, it's very much a faith class, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Like it's for me, it's it feels like the right balance for me, because like I didn't want to go just like straight up melee. I wanted to have some abilities to use magic as well, but I also didn't want to just be like solely doing ranged attacks and stuff, because like the fun of Dark Souls is getting up in that business and fighting. At least for me, that's what I've always loved about it. It's like getting up, blocking, parrying, dodging, getting those good backstabs in. So yeah, I very much like it. I'm having a good time with it so far. I can see why people are digging it. So it's fucking gorgeous. Like you walking through this game, and I gotta say, the fact that they don't give you a map when you start is so good. There aren't a trillion little doodads and whatsits on my fucking map. And I actually feel like I have to explore and find stuff. It's like when I played, like, I don't know, even like Morrowind or Oblivion for the first time, when you walk out and you don't really know where to go, and so you just kind of like have to wander around and find things, and it's just like that sense of exploration is really wonderful. It's like, you boot in a Far Cry, or I don't know, fucking Horizon or whatever, and it's like you boot it in, and then it's just like, here are 3 million things you can go do, and so it's like, welcome, you can go anywhere you want, except maybe you should go to this, and you're like, Where instead at Elden Ring, I just look around and I was like, hey, what's that over there? Walk over, and then you turn a corner and you're like, I don't like those big bat looking things. I'm out of here. Or you see like 2 giant ogre things pulling a big fucking, giant caravan, and you're like, no, I'm good. Like,
Or a dragon, because that's always fun.
Yeah, dragons and shit. And then sometimes, but like also like I took on a couple big enemies that, like, man, once you beat them, you're just like, yes, I am the champion. So yeah, it's a really good time, and I'm gonna keep playing it. Though weirdly enough, I might be getting a Wii U in a day or so, because someone wants to. A buddy of mine wants
Welcome to the club.
I know a buddy of mine wants to sell me his for like quite cheap, like under 100, which right now for me feels like a good price for it, because I'm kind of like, I feel like the Wii U is going to be one of those like items that's going to be like, it's just probably going to go up in price, and so I'm like, why I kind of want it is because I have a Wii, but the issue with the Wii is that I have to get an adapter in order to plug in for HDMI on my new TV. And so I was like, you know what? I might as well just get the Wii U, which then I can play the Wind Waker HD anyway, which I really want to play again. And I could just jailbreak it and fucking play Wii, GameCube, all those games on my, nice TV instead. So I'm like, you know what? And I got that fucking GameCube adapter for the PC, but it also is for the Wii U. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I might as well just have a Wii U around anyway. Fuck it. Let's just play all the goddamn consoles that I could possibly have. I have a problem, all right? I like consoles. And I also want to be able to play anything and everything that I want at all times. So anyway, expect that probably in the next week or so. Rick, why don't you regale us? What's your life like?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll start with multiplayer stuff. I've been playing a bit more Risk of Rain 2. My brother now owns the game, so I've played quite a bit with him. He loves it, as does everyone that I've played that game with, because it's really, really very good. I've also played a little bit of the Survivors of the Void expansion. Like what I've seen so far of the New Worlds, I haven't really played much with either of the new characters yet. So TBC on that one, but the base game's still so fucking exceptional. I think they've made it a little bit harder, because I found myself struggling at stage 5 where I didn't struggle nearly as much previously. Nevertheless, great game. We've also started playing Kiwi, which is a game I've alluded to a couple of times on the pod. You basically play a couple of little Kiwi birds, and you're in a post office, and you're like typing out letters and putting shit together and boxing up parcels and that. It's really good fun. Almost the antithesis of It Takes Two in a lot of ways. Where It Takes Two picked up an idea, dabbled with it a little bit, threw it, and then did something completely different. Kiwi is very iterative, so we're about a third of the game through now. And with the exception of a couple of like one-shot side levels, it has like 4 base level types, and it changes things up with them each time. So now there's a load of flies that like move things around to try and throw you off. Now there's some vines growing into the post office, and if you don't pick the flowers quickly enough, they'll grab things that you have to disentangle, or they'll grab you, and the other bird's gonna have to come and like peck you out. I like that approach a lot in a different way, because it makes you think a little bit about how you approach them. It keeps things fresh, even though it's a bit more of a limited tool set. This game also differs a lot from It Takes Two in that it's very specifically level based, and it has a bronze, silver, gold medal system based purely on the time that you finish each level in. And there's been quite a few levels where we've played them again and again and again and again to try and get that gold score, and it's a little bit addictive in that sense. I think purely from like a mechanical game crafting standpoint, It Takes Two is clearly better. But we've definitely had more of an itch to play more Kiwi. So I think for us, they're probably both excellent in slightly different ways. But it's really, really good game. Lots and lots of fun. If anyone's listening and looking for a co-op game, I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's wonderful for that. So yeah, they're the 2 big multiplayer ones. In terms of single player stuff, I actually started playing The Witcher again a lot. So this is slightly embarrassing. When I went back and looked, my last save game was in November. So it's been a hot minute. Yeah, you're muted now, Alex, so I can't hear what you're saying.
Oh, god dang it. I was just laughing. I was like, and it's been on the podcast playing ever since.
Yep. There's 2 kinds of approaches. I'm going to come back to it soon. I'm going to put it in retired, and I'm going to come back to it soon. You best believe it's going to sit in the playing until then. So I played it for like 5 hours straight. Like I really got into it, and the problem that this game has is that there's a lot of onboarding, and it does an admirable job of stretching it out, but it does a less than admirable job of highlighting that this is kind of the tutorial bit. It's going to end soon. Don't worry. So, like the whole opening level in Kaer Morhen, where you like sort of see the beginning of the story and learn some of the combat mechanics, is an elongated tutorial. I mean, that takes upwards of 40 minutes, maybe even an hour to get your way through. And then the moment that you get to the next level part, you're in like a small little gated area, which you think is the whole area. And it does a little bit of conversation and stuff. And then I essentially put it down and stopped right before you leave the gates of that place and realize that, oh, no, I'm on the outskirts of a town called Vizima, and there's a big fucking place that you can go and explore, get some more quests, do some actual combat, actually RPG that shit. And once you get to that, it really does start to liven up. There is a fair bit of like mid-noughties Eurojank to the setup. Like, you don't actually really engage in the combat. You click the left mouse button and Geralt has a fight. And you can maybe click it again to try and do like a bonus thing. So there is a little bit of involvement there. Conversely, you press spacebar at any time, the game pauses. So you can switch combat stance, you can equip a new magic for your right click. For what it's worth, the game really does sort of tie into that in its construction and the way that all those systems work. So you have different upgrade paths for each of the 3 combat stances. You have like a slow, which is focused on pure damage output. You have a fast, which is focused on speed and actually connecting those attacks. And you have a group stance. So that's aimed at more like staving enemies off. You have separate things for each of those. There is also a big emphasis on sort of being ready for fights. So having different oils that do things for different enemies. Which sword you equip depends on what kind of damage you're going to do to human and non-human enemies. You can pick up like non-Witcher combat implements like the axe or a little dagger or a torch, which are supposed to use to light up areas, but for mechanical reasons it's a little bit janky for that. The combat is not this game's strength, although it is still engaging and fun in its own right. The role-playing is really the draw here. The dialogue is remarkably good. There's a very robust set of sort of interrelating question conversations, even as early as the game as I am. I've just started chapter 2 of, I think, 5 plus an epilogue. The inventory and the alchemy and the level up system all engage in different ways, and they all sort of play into each other. It's not for everyone because it is a bit of a learning curve in, and even once you're in, while I like the combat, it is still kind of deficient. And while I like all of the options it gives you, there's definitely a level of obfuscation and complexity that doesn't need to be there. It's just because this game was cobbled together on what I believe is the old Neverwinter Nights engine. It's like the BioWare Aurora engine, but like a slightly updated version. And it's not an isometric CRPG. It's a big 3D open world-ish RPG. I also fucking love that when you drink alcohol, which is sometimes quest related, your attacks become half as effective and you stagger with like a fadey effect screen, unless you equip a weapon, in which case you go full pelt like you've not been drinking at all. And I had a couple of situations where I had to reload saves because, for the sake of speed, I would grab my sword out and just start pelting it. And there was someone in the corner, like an NPC I needed to talk to. And because I'd run towards them with a sword, they then became hostile, and there was no way of me unhostiling them. I was like, right, okay, I've got to restart now, haven't I? Just tickled me no end. But I'm very much invested in this game now, and I'm glad that I tried it. I'm glad that I got back to it eventually. Came super cheap, so one that I suppose if you've got an interest in the genre or the lore, probably worth a revisit. I played a bit more of Astral Chain. I'm on chapter 4 of, I believe, 10 of that. It's a little bit more linear than I thought it was going to be. I think that's my expectation that was wrong. But by midway through chapter 3, the combat actually starts to become a little bit more flexible. It's very, very slow in sort of meting out different things that you can do and different options. Definitely almost saw me bounce off the game, which is a little bit frustrating. But once the training wheels mostly come off, there is a lot of complexity to that system. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to have fun with. And I do really like what I've seen of the game, and hopefully it can sustain it for the rest of its runtime. I am also curious to see if you do get any more sort of world exploration, because it's almost like open spaces, but explored in a very linear way. The other thing that annoys me with that setup is there are environmental things that it's very clearly signposted are things you have to come back to with a different legion. The legion is like the secondary character that's chained to you. For anyone who's not played it or maybe seen screenshots, different legions which you can swap in and out as of around about chapter 4 have different abilities. But there's stuff in the earlier chapters where it wants you to come back with a different legion. Kind of annoys me. Like, if it's a big open world and you can come back later, sick. But what I think it's really expecting me to do is essentially replay the whole game file to go and take advantage of that. And I'm not a fan of that setup at all. So that's a little bit irksome. Otherwise, lots of fun. I feel quite similar about Days Gone, which again I've played a little bit more of. I suppose with that, the difference is it doesn't really do much new. It's, as I said last time, kind of generic. Like, it's a very polished game. It all comes together so far. But if you're someone who plays many, or even I'd hesitate to say any video games, it's nothing you've not seen before, except in the combination of what's there, and even then just barely. So that's kind of good fun. And then 2 more. I started Bloodstained Ritual of the Night for PC. God, you can tell it's a Castlevania game. Like, they're not hiding it.
Yeah.
It's everything it does, and that's not a complaint because I fucking love Castlevania. Like, it's Symphony of the Night with a crystal girl as the protagonist, and that is a-okay by me because the gameplay is still pretty good. I am thinking, even at this point, there's going to be a bit of an overload in all the abilities and items and alchemy and stuff that it throws you. Alex is nodding his head for those of you listening, and I know, to be fair, that some of the RNG for pickups and stuff was a problem for both you and friend of the podcast, Let's Talk About June.
Yeah.
I expect that it might be a little bit of a negative rub for me too, but we'll see how it goes. Like the actual mechanics of it, I really, really like. I'm about an hour in.
Yeah, it's a good game, but for me, it's not. It's okay to good for me, you know. That kind of.
Yeah, and I can totally get from what little I've played that it's going to be a strong Metroidvania without being a must-play Metroidvania. But hey, it was a game that was very generously given to me for Christmas, so happy days. Thank you again, Paula. And I am really liking what I've seen of it so far. Final game, Mario and Luigi, Partners in Time for the Nintendo DS. I'm only an hour in, so only two things really to say. Firstly, it's a Mario and Luigi RPG, and it does all the things that you would expect from that very well so far. The addition of the little brothers feels like it's just going to be more of an extra faff than it's going to add, but we'll see how that goes. The other thing I should mention, because I don't think they did a good job of advertising it, this game is compatible with the Rumble Pack. So I've got my big boy DS, like the original model. I've got the game in the top. I've got the Rumble Pack in the bottom. Rumble actually adds a lot to this game. Like versus the original Superstar Saga. So for anyone who's not played any of these games, you have active combat. Like for example, when you use the jump attack, if you press the action button at the point of your foot hitting the enemy's head, you do extra damage. And what the game does when you got the pack in is it gives you a little satisfying rumble when you've hit that properly. So there's that element of force feedback. I mean, you wouldn't miss it if you didn't have it, but it adds a lot having it, if that makes sense. So big fan of that. I will talk more about it when I have more to say, because again, I'm not very far into that. Conversely, we are very far into this episode. And probably running a little bit over time.
We're way too verbose.
Topic, or do we want to just
we got time. We got time. It's all good. We're good. Plus I don't really know how long this topic will be, so hey, who knows? Because right now we're on topic we want to talk about was inspired by TUNIC. Really, it was instruction booklets. Where'd they go? Because I don't know about all y'all, but like growing up, the instruction booklet was like a holy grail whenever I got something. It was just gorgeous. Like I loved looking
pre-game ritual. You sit down, you curl up with that before the game even goes in the cartridge slot.
Exactly. Especially if you were like in my case growing up, all the video game stores were about a 30-minute drive away, at least 30, and probably more like 40 some minutes. And then back, it would be more like an hour there and back, right? So you'd get to there, you'd buy the game, you'd open it up, and like obviously in the way back, you read that goddamn instruction manual, you know? And even if it was like a Game Boy game that I could play right away, I'd still look at that instruction manual. And like I have fond memories of like particularly the Pokemon Crystal and the Pokemon Red manual guides. The Pokemon Red manual guide is amazing because at the end it has the Pokedex and it had a bunch of the Pokemon, but it left some of them. So like you can look at them all online now, which is nice, but like it had a bunch of them filled in, but then you could fill in the rest yourself. And that was super fun. Like I remember filling in the names of some of the others and even trying to draw some of them as like a kid.
Amazing.
And it was just like, I don't know, like, so when I think about instruction booklets, I know that there is kind of this argument that like, okay, well, you know, nowadays there's like digital copies, so, you know, you can't really have the game and whatnot. But like, part of me feels like it's even a better incentive to like actually pick up the game physically, though I know that a lot of these companies would rather that you just buy it digitally because they get more of the cut. But I would think that's mostly just like the main publishers who actually, because I don't know, like I think about like a developer, I don't think they give a fuck. Like, just buy my game, please. You know, and like there was something so wonderful about having this because it's official art, right? Like, and that's the thing where, yeah, okay, there's incredible, cool nowadays online guides and stuff. But I think about a game like Elden Ring where, you know, everybody in the fucking planet who basically goes into that game looks up some kind of like starting guide, you know, like because people want to figure out like, okay, how do I get into this? What's a good kind of build? And like, whereas back in the day, it had something like Knights of the Old Republic. They had at the back of their manual, all the classes had all of like the stats laid out for you in like these excellent charts that you could compare with each other. And it's like, man, if Elden Ring came with a little booklet that was like, hey, this is what all the stuff means, and like here's what they are, so that instead of like, yeah, in the game they've built in things where you can press like a button, it says explanation and you can read it, and that's really nice and awesome, and like obviously it'd be great to still have that, but having this like physical booklet with you as well is so useful. It's nice to be able to just look through and go like, oh, that's the thing that I need. All right, cool. And like, I don't know, man, I just miss it. I just miss that shit.
I get that.
Yeah, same here. Like, I didn't get to do that with many games when I was a child because, well, I didn't have many consoles and mostly PC games. So I do remember flipping through the booklets of, first of all, The Sims, and also since I got the like the dual pack of Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne. Those have strategy guides, like straight up the strategy guides. And I don't know where they are in this mess of a room, but I really enjoyed going through them because they have like tips on how to go through the campaign of the game. But also they have like, okay, these are the units each class has. This is like the tech tree of the whole game, and this is like which units are strong against which. Like they really put a lot of effort on walking you through potentially your first strategy game. The same thing with Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 2, not 3, where I still have that lying around that is like this giant like I guess folded tech tree that you can like just unfold, and it is like a super big map of everything in the game. And it is amazing. So, and the one, I guess the one game genre that kind of like kept it up until they decided, hey, let's put this like in game, were fighting games, because, well, you have to know like all the combos to like properly play the game, which I was checking through I was like flipping through like all the guides on my bookshelf like earlier, and the Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax have like very detailed information on how to play the game.
And like, yeah, and that
This,
stuff's
yeah,
awesome, but it's also so cumbersome within a game, you know? Like, I'm glad that it's in there and it's nice, but like when I think of a fighting game too, you reminded me, it's like, man, when you try to navigate to find those combos, fucking kill me. Like, because then you have to,
yeah.
you look at it and it's like, all right, I hope I remember that shit when I when I click into this menu. Versus like if I just had that nice there in front of me, I could be like, oh, there it is, you know, and like, God damn, I just so wish that this, and I know that some of them do this like digital fucking manual thing, but even then, when they do the digital manuals, when you actually click on it to find out what the digital manual is, it's usually just like the fucking warranty and warnings stuff. And like that's basically it. You're like, oh, there it
Assuming
is.
it's still up. I went to play a
Yeah.
PS4 game recently, went to read the instructions and said 404, this user or whatever code it
Right?
was. It's like this web domain might be up for purchase. I don't so much mind the way that 3DS did it, where at least the digital manual is like tied to the game and it's
Yeah.
offline and you have it, but it's never quite the same.
And see, that's
And
really
that's kind of the second part.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and that is
Oh, go
kind of
ahead.
cool though. Like I kind of like even if I can't get those physicals back, even if I could get something that you're saying where like it's tied to the game offline, like that to me is cool. Like even if I could, I don't know, but even then, it's like something about being able to have it. Like even if I could open it on my phone, I'd be pretty happy.
Have it separately, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
having it
Like,
separately and it's not going to be given to you separately in accessible form. I found myself doing that with a few DS games when I've downloaded ROMs and what have you. Like Nintendo are pretty good. There's some other sites that are pretty good for like having scanned the old ones in. It's never quite the same, but it's close enough. And Nintendo have like a weird slapdash policy where some they upload, some they don't. So it's
Yeah.
always a bit of a 50-50 one. Yeah, it's sad. I get it, but it's sad. I mean, it's a dicey world now with some of the limited edition ones where they have an instruction manual.
Yeah.
They're not all created equal. Some of them have
Oh.
real care and attention put into them. So like Cosmic Star Heroine, when I played that, I was lucky enough to get one of the limited run physicals of that for Vita. There's a beefy manual for a platform which very rarely have manuals to start with. It was like a 60-page booklet. Black and white, admittedly, but like that's a fair concession at that stage. Profiles of every single character you have, outlines some of their abilities, pages for every single world you reach, just all of the detail that you'd hope and expect for. I then also had a copy of Teslagrad, which is one of, if not the worst limited edition of anything I've ever had, for reasons that we somewhat outlined last time. It had a 4-page pamphlet that like outlined the controls, and that was kind of it. And the controls are what I want, but like there's ways of not putting any effort in without it being quite so fucking obvious.
I know.
Yeah,
And like, oh yeah.
I was gonna say it's kind of sad that the instruction manual or strategy guides, right? Like right now is like usually comes with only like the or day one edition or like the limited edition, because that stuff was used to be included and now we have to pay extra to have it. Though to be fair, like in cases of like Shin Megami Tensei 4, where you have like an actual book with
If you're in North America where you got a physical release.
I am sorry, Rick, but the special edition has like this 178-page book with like pretty much like any kind of information, every bit of information you will ever need to like if you want to, I don't know, like properly play the game or get like all the secrets or anything like that. But the the digital version, or like the physical cartridge, has the manual like tied to the cartridge, for example, and you can access it on your 3DS. The thing is, sometimes if I'm playing, I don't know, anything involving strategy or like dive matchups or anything like that, I kind of want to be able to see the thing while I'm playing and not have to like get out of the game and
No,
then see
exactly.
it and go right back. Like at that point, I just grab my phone.
And
So yeah,
like,
Alex.
oh, I was gonna say, and obviously, the reality is like now we have all these walkthroughs and whatnot. Right? So like online, there's walkthroughs and stuff, and like those are great, right? And like ultimately, they can exist alongside something like this too. But like the reality is that most of them are usually text based and fine. You know what I mean? Like some are really good, others are just kind of okay. Because like these strategy guys had like dedicated teams behind them, and like the graphics work on them are usually really nice. Like I think even of the like it's kind of wild North America, like the guide that came along with Earthbound, gorgeous, had all of these like maps going through, and like I think too, even on my phone right now using the Majora's Mask, I wish I could have a physical of it. I almost got my hands on one for like pretty cheap here, but the guy just never responded. I was like, damn it. But the way that they put them together, it's just really, really beautiful and nice to look at, honestly, And like I think of Golden Sun, The Lost Age. Like I remember its instruction booklet. I loved looking at it because what it also would do is it gives you and again, I know this is partially nowadays it's not as important, but like for games that had kind of pixel art, which still a lot of those now, you could see what their character designs were meant to look like, right? And like I think of like in like Golden Sun: The Lost Age, for instance, in the manual itself, you can see a like Felix, in his like full like drawn look, and like all the characters like that instead of in their pixel versions. And so it's kind of like for me it was this chance of being like, oh, that's what he's supposed to look like, cool, and like I don't know. Again, obviously in the NES era too, and even I think early Game Boy, like as someone who's been playing Game Boy games, you quickly realize that like you need to download the manuals for all those games that you're trying to play because they're not going to fucking teach you what to do. Which in some ways I also love because it's like, okay, I'm just going to read this manual real quick and then I'm going to play the game and I don't have to worry about no fucking boring ass tutorial, because there's another issue, right? Which Elden Ring does kind of jump over by allowing you to skip its tutorial, but like in a game, it's like, okay, you either make somebody play through it, or you could just let them kind of read and learn how it works on their own and go have fun. So I don't know. I think sometimes we've like moved and there's like this consensus that like, oh, they're not needed anymore, or it's kind of an obsolete way of doing it. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not sure that it is really. Like, it's kind of nice to like take a second to look at how something works before you jump in. But I don't know. Teach his own, I
Like,
suppose.
imagine you could skip all the tutorial parts on Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and instead read the fucking manual without interrupting your gameplay.
But that's the other
Sorry.
argument, right? Like the idea is that the instruction manual is an anachronism. The game tells you all the things that formerly, if you go way back to a NES, there just wasn't the cartridge space to tell you. Like that. That's why we got them in the first place. Obviously, that viewing ignores the sort of pre-game ritual. It ignores the benefits of having like something in paper and something to refer back to and read alongside. It ignores the brevity. It ignores the nice art and the stuff that you can do with it. I do have some sympathy for that because I know in myself the timing of me sort of transitioning to playing a lot more on PC was around the same time, when the 3DS and the Vita came out. The last generation of consoles, your PS4s, your Xboxes, your Wii U's and Switches, it's around that time that manuals were disappearing anyway. And between tutorials and the options that you would normally have to remap keys and things like that in game, because basically every PC game's digital at this point. I actually found I didn't really miss them. Like, I didn't find myself thinking, shit, I would have found that in an instruction manual. I do miss the ritual of them, though. I do miss having something to hold. And games like Cosmic Star Harrow, more recent ones where they've had booklets that come with them. As Paula's kind of mentioned, LEs often have that kind of stuff baked in. It's moments like that when you have it again that you realize what you've lost.
I was just going to add too, I think I miss them more now, actually, because you're right. Like, I think in the 360 era, I didn't miss it as much. But I feel like I miss them more now because even in the 360 era, when I think about it, it's like I kind of needed a lot of those tutorials. But nowadays, I'm like, I enter a game and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Are you going to fucking make me play this tutorial? And I'm like, do you know what I mean? Where I get to this point where I was like, I kind of wish that I just had a little booklet where if I need help, I could just check it out, which obviously games can still mitigate that and fix that and change that. But yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes, like you say, we look at some of these older elements as if they are, like you said, anachronisms that are no longer needed, where it's like, oh, well, they actually did serve a purpose. And there are elements of them that I think could stick around and like not necessarily have to be completely destroyed. And like you said, maybe something along the lines of having something that you can use on your app, even like just give me a PDF of some shit. I don't know.
That sounds too much like common sense. That won't happen.
I know, right?
Ultimately, the ship sailed. Like, not to leave it on a downer note, that ship has sailed. Speaking of things, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, though there is quite a bit of a resurgence in, like, I think physical media around these things. Like, I think about all the Kickstarting and stuff that's happening, like limited run games and all that stuff. So there's hope yet, but it's a niche hope.
And if you miss that run, there is no PDF of it because you've got a vanishingly small pool, none of whom have a real incentive to scan them. And that's what's kind of sucky because you're going to go from a situation where everyone had them to no one had them to they exist but you don't have access to them. And I think that's the really sad part.
I was going to say, God bless all the people who have friggin' scanned all these old Game Boy Advance.
Doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
They really are. All right, shall we move on to...
Killed my segue.
What's your segue?
Speaking of things we've been missing, our audience has been missing its weekly dose of How Long to Beat the Game.
Nice. Rick, your turn.
I am the hostess with the mostest this week. So
yes.
On that, I have already got the game ready. It's flat.
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that one time? Sorry.
Human fall flat.
Oh, I know this game. Okay, all right.
Now
I don't.
While our two contestants are deciding the times and sending them to me and only me, a reminder for the new format of this game. Each week, one of us is going to be hosting. We're going to randomize the game. The other two are going to be playing. They're going to message their times for main completion, main plus, and 100% to me. For each, there is a point up for grabs for the person who gets the closest to that number versus the how long to beat website times for those categories. I will then also elect a different category, which this week is going to be the percentage retired of this game. Whoever gets closest to that gets 2 points. So there's a total of 5 points up for grabs in this game. If there is sort of a tie break on any of those numbers, both people get the points. We're not going to price is right. It'd be really, really mean. We're just going to give both the points. Now, that maybe is enough time for you guys to send me what you're doing. It isn't.
Almost. I'm almost there.
Clearly a lot of thinking going on.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Let me see here. Okay. You know what? All right. I think
I'm just looking at the trailer right now to know what the hell this is about.
I don't know if this has a lot.
I don't know if it's gonna be. Oh no, this is not gonna be like useful for the audience because this is gonna go live like later.
Okay, I've sent off one.
But it is currently on sale.
Okay. I'm gonna do. God, I don't even know what's like a high retired percentage or not. I don't know. Okay, all right, I'm done. I've sent mine.
I'm gonna send mine right now.
Okay.
I don't feel like it's a long game, but I also don't know if this is one of those games that could have a lot of like 100. You know what I mean? Like it's like, is this one of those ones that like, is it kind of infinite? I don't know. I just know it's physics.
I'll be real. When I clicked on this game, I confused it with a game called Gang Beasts, which has a very similar style, but is multiplayer only, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a Smash Bros type thing. This seems like it has a co-op component, but it's more like a good job style sort of
yeah.
Wait, Rick, I'm gonna change a thing, so don't say anything yet, okay?
You're changing it. How dare you?
There.
All right.
You're lucky I'm a magnanimous host. I'm going to let those changes stand. But you're both locked in time-wise now. So,
do we do the extra round right now or later?
Just do
send
it
me
Rick's
now, but we're going to do it at the end. I wouldn't normally introduce it that early, but it's just while I was teeing everything up. So, main. Alex has put 7 hours. Paula has put 6 hours. And I have to tell you, Paula's bang on. It's 6 hours.
Oh, damn. All right, good work.
So,
that's 1 point for Paula.
Yeah. It's just a perk of the new format. You would have both got points under the old rules, but no chance this time. Main plus. Paula has put 14 hours. Alex has put 13 hours. The actual answer is 10.5 hours.
Ooh.
So that's 1 point for Alex, 1 point apiece.
Nice.
And the completionist time. Alex has put 20 hours.
Yeah.
Paula has put 30 hours. The actual answer is 21.5 hours.
Hey!
No.
So Alex significantly closer. That's 2 to Alex, 1 to Paula. But it's all to play for today with that retired number. So has Paula given me a percentage? She certainly has. So Paula says 10% retirement. Alex says 27% retirement.
I have no idea if that's high or not.
It's phenomenally high. I'll be
real.
Okay. The actual percentage retired is 9%.
Okay, well, okay, Paula.
Hey.
Paula turns it around. That's the final score today of 3 points for Paula, 2 points for Alex.
Yeah, which means Victory I've got 5 total.
The jaws of defeat. 5 total, indeed.
And Rick and Paula both have 3.
Yes, yeah, because Paula's played 2 rounds. I've only played the one now. In fact, no. No, you've played 2 rounds.
I played 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. There you go.
Because next week it'll be you and Paula.
And at the end of that, essentially, we'll have a full stack score of each one.
Someone mentioned, and I think this is what we should do, is that they said the winner should get to decide a themed month for us of like games that we have to play. So instead of
Otto maybe, but also Otto maybe not.
Exactly. So, whoever gets to maybe 20 points first or something like that. Like, does that make sense? or it should be 15 points. I don't know. Let's find out.
Let us know what you think it should be, and if you think we should have a different
Maybe
challenge, and what number point you think it should or shouldn't be in the comments down below, right next to the like button.
15 might make
other
sense
thing we
because we don't
could
have a lot of
do
money
is
left. Yeah.
other thing we could do is have like a set amount, like a full rounds go, like
That
each
might
of
be the
us like
smartest play.
play a set number of
Okay.
rounds, and
Say
then
if we hit 9 total plays,
higher.
so we've each done 3 full loops. Is that what you mean, Paula?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that actually. I think that keeps it a bit more even. Because otherwise, in essence, Alex, you and I have a slight advantage because our game week is first in the 3.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was thinking actually, because maybe do we just do 6 full rounds, like because then that'll be May.
Which is what Paula's basically saying. So
Yeah.
I think we're in agreement on that.
Then
basically.
that's what we'll do. Yeah, we'll do a full 6 rounds, and then whoever's got the most points at the end of that is the winner.
Dun, 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 dun.
That team week,
Dun,
and
dun,
we'll
dun.
keep doing that each time until we see what happens. Nice. All right. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Peace.
Bye.